the mind creates meaning. And then it takes over 20% of your caloric intake to think. Like thinking takes a lot of energy. It's the most energy intensive process that the body does, is to produce thought or to support thought. And so because of that, the mind has created this process called the default mode network, where it automates. The mind automates all meaning. So you make a meaning and then you stand on that meaning and then unconsciously start to tie that meaning into every other meaning that you have inside the frame of the mind. And then it's just like and if it's a shadow, I was talking to the guys, I was doing some of my own work earlier, and it's kind of like a virus. Like if I have a belief that says I'm not good enough, like a virus, it'll start to spread into every area of my life, into my personal relationships, into my career, into my health, into my finances, and then it'll go into the collective culture as it starts to bleed out, because then I go to my wife and I start coming from my shadow, and the natural tendency is then for them to come from their shadow, because that's automation. It's like I'm inviting my unconsciousness, the operation of my deep conscious. It's like it's calling out to other people's unconscious, and then we just like a glove, it just kind of turns into this. It's shadow boxing or shadow dancing, depending on the situation. If it's fighting, then it's shadow boxing. If it's you and I are both going down to the bottom of the pit and we're taking each other with us, kind of thing, that's typically a shadow dance. You see that in addictions with people that use drugs, stuff like that. I mean, people that we get into these dances and we tangle our way down. The mind is built layers and layers of meaning, and the farther down the mind you go, the more dense that meaning gets. And what I've come to, again, this is all my hallucination, but from what I found now from doing 22 years, 23 years now of this work, is that when you get down to that denseness then causes that virus to then move into other systems or other people. And then we all start to believe the same stuff. And it all goes down and then goes in the collective conscious. And and this is how one of our superpowers as humans, it's what's allowed us to be a dominant force, is for me to stand on my parents' teachings, my parents, 3.5 billion years of it. And it bleeds in. And the next thing you know, we've got this collective shadow going on. And the National Science Foundation suggests that 95% of your thoughts are repetitive. So shadow work is a subjective experience. Just go look at your day, go look at your week, go look at your month, and see 95% of the thoughts you're thinking are the same thoughts. And the reason why is because thoughts are expensive. And so the mind wants to create patterns, pattern after pattern after pattern after pattern after pattern. And what I started to notice is I started to wonder, well, if the patterns of meaning are the same over and over and over, I wonder if the suffering is as well. And what I found in my life, in the subjective experience of Stephen, that's true. So 95% of my thoughts are repetitive, and National Science Foundation also suggests that 80% of your thoughts are negative. You're thinking the same thoughts, the same negative thoughts, and about 80% of the root of your thoughts are based upon attack thoughts, awfulizing, negative bias, confirmation bias, sunk cost fallacy, all kinds of thoughts that originate when you follow them down into survival rooted thinking. And it's and I see it now in a way that I couldn't see it before. When you look at the way the mind was created 3.5 billion years ago, the bubble that is called Eugenie started its process of consciousness. And it started way back as a caveman, and that caveman had some meaning that he made, and then had another one and another one and another one. And moment after moment, right now in your mind, you're making meaning right now. Meaning. What does this mean? And that's constantly updating, but it's also taking in data, and it's also standing on top of data. And so for 3.5 billion years, this mind has been upgrading like a bubble, just floating up to the surface of consciousness. And now here you are in the bubble that is Eugenie, virgin Eugenie, right? And in your brain, you just kind of sit in this bubble that you think is everything. But there's all this deep consciousness, all this layers and layers of meaning that you're filtering through.